Hi everyone, my name is Kevin. Welcome to my course, C# 10 Design Patterns. I'm a Microsoft MVP and freelance solution architect, currently focused on APIs and security. Every code base can be improved. In this course, you will learn what design patterns are. After that, you will learn how to vastly improve your code base by applying 23 different design patterns, covering all sorts of challenges. Each of the 23 patterns will be described in detail with a real-life example. The pattern structure will be covered as well, so you can learn how to apply it to your code base. Each pattern will be implemented in C# 10 on .NET 6. You will learn about use cases for the pattern, and you will learn about pattern consequences and related patterns. When you're finished with this course, you will have the skills and knowledge to use state-of-the-art design patterns in C# 10 to improve your code base. Before beginning the course, you should be familiar with C#. I hope you'll join me on this journey to learn how to improve your code base by applying design patterns to it with the C# 10 Design Patterns course at Pluralsight. Hi there, and welcome to the C# 10 Design Patterns course at Pluralsight. I'm Kevin, and I'll guide you through this course. Let's start with a quick version check. This course was created with .NET 6 and C# 10. The version of Visual Studio I use is Visual Studio 2022. The course is 100% applicable to the aforementioned platform and language versions. I can't speak for future versions yet, but from past experience it's probably safe to say that what's applicable now will still be applicable in the future. After all, this is a course on design patterns, and those have been around for a very long time. That being said, I try to create new versions of my courses when new major long-term supported versions are released. So, if you're targeting a more recent framework version, have a look at my author page first. There, all my courses are listed, so you can check whether one exists that targets the exact version you're targeting. If you want to be notified of a new version, simply click the follow button and you'll get an email whenever a new course or course version is released. Let's have a look at what's coming up. We'll start by having a look at the course prerequisites, frameworks and tooling, and what you need to get going. After that, you will learn how the course is structured and where you can get the demo code. With that out of the way, we'll dive into design patterns. You will learn what they are, what the Gang of Four is, and which types of patterns exist. At the end of the module, you'll learn about a few common object-oriented principles that will be useful for the rest of the course. As usual, the best place to post questions is on the Discussions tab on the course page. I check this regularly, and I like that questions and answers can help other people out as well. For very short questions that require a quick answer, you can contact me on Twitter. Or just follow me if you want to know about my upcoming courses, user group events, or are interested in ASP.NET Core, security or APIs. Oh, and I may post the occasional photo of the family cats. Let's continue with the course prerequisites. This course is a best practices course in which I will cover a variety of design patterns. The focus is on the pattern itself, not on all the surrounding framework code. In other words, you should know C# and that's about it. I am using version 10 in this course, which is the latest release at the time of recording. Where applicable, I will try to use C# 10 language features. But these patterns have been around long before C# existed, so the exact version isn't that important. As far as .NET is concerned, .NET 6 is targeted. Let's have a look at the tooling we'll use. As far as tooling is concerned, I will use Visual Studio 2022. But that doesn't mean you need to use Visual Studio 2022. ASP.NET Core can be developed using other IDEs like Visual Studio for Mac or Visual Studio Code, which also runs on Mac and Linux. Feel free to use the IDE you feel most comfortable with. As mentioned, I'm using Visual Studio. If you also want to use that and you haven't installed it yet, the first thing to do is install it. It could be that the company you work for has a license for using Visual Studio. In that case, you can use that license to install the Professional or Enterprise edition, depending on the type of your license. If you don't have a license, you can either download the trial version or download the Community edition. If you already have Visual Studio or another IDE installed, but you don't have .NET 6 support yet, you can download it at the URL on screen. Simply download and install the full .NET 6 SDK and you're good to go. And that is all that is needed to get started. Let's have a look at the course structure. In this course, you will learn all about the Gang of 4 design patterns, all 23 of them. More on that in a few minutes. Each module covers one pattern, and each module also roughly adheres to the same structure. We will first learn what the pattern in question is about, the pattern's intent, why it's used, what it does. We will clarify this with a real-life example to make it more tangible, to understand which problem the pattern solves. After that, we will build a diagram, so you will learn how the different components of the pattern work together. This is called the pattern structure. That will always be a theoretical exercise, with names like singleton A, factory B, etc. Having that theoretical view allows you to easily apply it to day-to-day real-life scenarios. And that's exactly what we'll do next. We will implement the real-life use case used to describe the pattern in a demo. Expect lots of people, employees, shopping carts and car classes in the upcoming hours. For each pattern, you will end up with a real-life example implementation. After that, and depending on the pattern, we will look into other real-life implementations, variations, points of interest, or alternatives. At the end of each module, we will cover pattern use cases, pattern consequences, and related patterns. With pattern use case, I mean that we're going to check out cases for which the pattern can help. If you notice one of the potential use cases in your code or requirements, the pattern might be a good match. With pattern consequences, I mean the pros and cons of each pattern. In other words, these consequences can be positive and/or negative. It's up to you to weigh the pros versus the cons for your specific situation. Don't just implement the pattern because you can. Implement it when the advantages outweigh the disadvantages for your specific use case. You'll notice that patterns tend to solve related issues and often have comparable templates and implementations. That's why looking into related patterns is useful. Like that, you don't just learn how they are the same, but also how they are different and how they can be combined. Now, obviously, when you're going through the first 2 or 3 modules, comparing patterns to related patterns may sound a bit weird, because you probably won't have learned about those other patterns yet. But the further along you go in the course, the more this becomes clear and useful. Also, you don't have to follow the course from beginning to end. Let's have a look at what you can do. You could follow it from start to finish, and I would advise you to do so, because all these patterns are interesting enough to learn about, as you'll quickly see where you can apply them in your code and thus improve your code base. But if you already know a thing or two about design patterns, and you know which patterns you want to implement or expect to use a lot, you can also jump right in at the respective modules. Each module can be regarded and viewed as a standalone module. That being said, some patterns are very closely related. So I may refer to other modules, and some modules are inherently linked to each other due to the nature of the pattern. But I've tried to keep this to a strict minimum. The patterns are grouped by type: creational, structural, or behavioral. More on that in a minute. Normally, the gang of 4 ordered these patterns alphabetically by type. But I decided not to do this. Instead, I ordered them by roughly the amounts of time I used them in real-life projects. I realize this is not a scientific method, but as it is rooted in real life, I do think it carries some value. The finished demo code for this course consists of one large solution with one project per pattern. You're looking at that solution right now. All projects are console applications and we're starting from an empty console app for each pattern. And that's exactly what's in the starter solution which you are looking at now. So for each pattern there's a console app with 2 files in it. A program.cs file, in which we will write code to test the pattern, and an implementation.cs file, in which we will write code to implement the pattern. This is thus a very simple starter solution, and you don't have to use it, but it will save us from some boring steps, as we no longer have to add new projects for each pattern. They are already there. You can download the starter solution and finished solution via the exercises files tab, or get it from my GitHub. That's probably the best place to get it from, as that's the place where I'll be able to commit updates and/or bug fixes the fastest. Let's learn what design patterns are next.